Aloha, everybody, and welcome back to the Joystick Show. Today, we have a very special episode. San Diego Comic-Con is kicking off this week. We've got Deadpool and Wolverine the premiere. DC is revamping a bunch of things. Twister has destroyed. But then we're getting into some awesome reviews. We got the Acolyte finale, House of the Dragon episode 6, and the Boys finale. Stay tuned for this exciting episode.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.
Aloha and welcome to the Joystick Show, a weekly podcast where three friends from Hawaii talk story about the things from pop culture that are bringing us joy. Shakas mahalos for checking us out. If can, please subscribe on any and every podcast platform, including a YouTube. A 5-star review is greatly appreciated and helps us out a ton. I'm your co-host, Drake. That's Scott.
How's it?
And that's Thomas.
What up, what up?
And welcome to episode 158. And Scott, why don't you let us know what we're going to be talking about this evening?
All right. Well, we got kind of a packed episode. We're going to try and keep it tight, but let's see if we
Was
can
that
get
a
it done.
packing joke?
Wow.
Like,
Just let
Bubble
me do my
wrap or-
thing,
was that a
dude.
shipping joke? What are we doing?
Yeah, wow. Here we go. Say the things, say the topics.
Okay. Well, sometimes you
You're
just
right.
got to enjoy the joke, not
Oh, wow,
talk
wow,
about it
wow.
afterwards. Kind of. Okay, we're gonna start off. We got San Diego Comic-Con this week. Thomas is going to that. We're going to talk about that. We got Deadpool and Wolverine premiere. I'm super excited. I know you guys are as well. DC All In. That's new. We're going to talk about it. Twisters destroys the box office, and Drake went to a Renaissance fair. We might talk about that. That's kind of cool. I want to hear about it. Reviews. We have the Acolyte episode 8 finale, House of Dragons episode 6, and The Boys episode 8 finale. It's a big one. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So San Diego Comic-Con is here. The city is transforming. I'm sure you guys might have seen some things on social media already. Yeah, I pick up my tickets tomorrow. So it's
That's
it's here.
cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. I'm like nervous, excited.
Right.
Probably more nervous right now because
What are you going to wear? What's your fit?
I got a few different things I'm pulling out. I got
Yeah?
like some Deadpool and Wolverine things you'll probably see
Okay.
online.
Nice.
pads?
Obviously,
Alright.
you know,
Boots?
we haven't even really dropped this online anywhere, but this hat will definitely make an appearance on the panel.
Whoa.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, only one
for-
of 20, so it's a limited edition.
That's true. Yeah, we only got 24 of them, and
You
yes,
throw it
for
onto the
those-
crowd, and you're like, I'm going to need that back.
Yeah, exactly. If you want it, yeah, come back to our social media site. You have to buy it later.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we actually have made a little bit of merch. So if you're interested, you can check out our social media, and basically we'll give you the details on how to pick that up there. But the launch for it has not even dropped yet. But I don't even have time to think about that right now because
Yeah.
there's
San
a shit
Diego.
ton of panels. Yeah, there's so much Deadpool and Wolverine. Marvel coming back is like tripping people out. I said it last week. Pretty much my whole Saturday is devoted to being in Hall H. So yeah, it's gonna be wild. Yeah, anything on you guys though, because obviously people are gonna be saying what I'm gonna have to say about it. My thoughts are, what do you guys think, expect? I know you kind of gave a little insight last week, Drake, but anything else that's come up for you guys since then?
Nothing really. I think the amount of anticipation that's been had over the course of knowing that essentially you've leveled up in your con game, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of everything. I think that's just really exciting. So Scott and I are, we're sitting down on the bench, watching from afar, just watching you hit home runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm excited for it, man.
Yeah, sports ball.
There you go. Yeah, I love the sports ball reference.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Again, we're about to get into some other news coming up, which is the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere that happened tonight in New York. I just saw while I was watching it, a bunch of people that we've actually had on the show or have talked to IRL. And so James, people know him as San Diego Thor from our Spotlight episode. I saw him and his wife there in the crowds. I thought that was so cool because he told me he was going. And it's his wife's birthday, I think today. So he was basically like,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to her. Exactly. But it was like for her birthday, you're like, you're going to Deadpool and Wolverine the premiere. So
Yeah, you're getting out of the house. You're allowing that person to kind of be free and do whatever they want, not bother them. Yeah,
exactly.
you're
Just a
welcome.
short flight from San Diego, New York,
Yep.
and then booking stays. So
Yep.
not too bad.
You're
But yeah,
welcome.
the premiere looks incredible. I saw Straw Hat was there. Who else? I knew Brandon was going. So like, there's a bunch of people that are there, and it's just like, man, they're really here. And I feel like this week Feige has really leaned into, we've been pushing off the X-Men and Marvel Studios for a while, but he was saying like this is actually the start of X-Men, and I think it's kind of made him fold a little bit. Before it was like we're gonna actually have to like wait a few years, but I don't know. It seems like he's like this is as good a time as any with Hugh Jackman, with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on the movie coming out this week?
I'm excited. I got my tickets Sunday, so I'm gonna be watching them matinee AM.
Ooh.
Probably gonna get some fries, gonna get some drink. We had this discussion earlier on in a different podcast what we'd be eating. I'll be going with Alondra's brides, or what is that? What is the one?
Just
with,
Pride.
the queen, the queen bridesmaid. Which one is that one? The best bridemaid. What is that one?
I don't know. I got
Maid of
maid
honor.
of honor. I
Maid
don't
of
know these
honor.
terms.
Maid of honor.
There you go.
The maid of honor is what I'm saying. We're going
The
with her
queen
maid
part
of
threw me off,
honor
yeah.
and her husband Tate, and then yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting. Like you said, it's gonna be the kickoff of Marvel's back again, and
It
it's
never went anywhere.
yeah, it didn't go anywhere. I mean, it was over yonder, and it just walked up to us, slapped us on our butt, and made us aware of everything that it's doing. So
And you're like, ooh, I
Yeehaw!
see you.
yeah, dude, hey, what's going on? I'm not gonna call it HR. I'm just gonna embrace that.
Yeah, what about you, Scott? Also, that's cool though.
great.
This is gonna be a great movie, I think, to go with the group. Like this seems like a perfect group movie. So, yeah, I'm stoked for you. That's the way to do it. Sorry, you, Scott.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked for you, dude. It's cool. You're gonna go with a group. My group is gonna.
Shut up. You best.
No, what I was gonna say though is related. The
Sure.
group of people I go with,
Uh,
they've decided to go to an earlier viewing.
then you are.
Well, that's the thing. I was kind of hoping I was gonna hold out until this, but
Ooh.
hey, no shade. It's all good. They're going out at 4:30. I get off at 5:30, so I'm just not gonna make it. So I got to figure out when I'm gonna go this week.
Got it. You
And it's
got
hard
it,
with
man.
Christine's schedule changes all the time, so it's hard to
Yeah.
lock something down like way in advance. So I'm
Right.
just gonna try and find openings this week sometime and go. But I am super excited to watch it.
Okay, well, if you do find a family to go with, just let us know. We
I
want
might
it to
tag
be-
along. Yeah, I'll be like, "Are you guys watching this movie too? Can I sit with you?"
Yeah, you
Well,
just go up and
we
grab
only
the little
got
kid's
4
hand.
tickets, so yeah, it's gonna
That's
be
bad news, dude.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
tough. Ooh,
Yeah.
Giant guy.
Heyo.
No.
I know. Believe me, it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, Thursday, there's a panel I get to lucky enough to be on with Derek from the Underrated Podcast and Alex from the Welcome Party, JPG's wife that we had on the show as well. And then that night, they're doing a special fan event going back to San Diego Comic-Con. And it is believed that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman could possibly be there. Don't quote me on that. It is a rumor right now. And then there's also a rumor that part of that they'll be showing either the first 38 minutes, or since the movie will be out, they might show the whole movie at San Diego Comic Con. So if not, I
wow.
have tickets that Thursday as well. So I don't
It
know where
wouldn't
I'm gonna
hurt
be.
to watch it again, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna be at some point on Thursday. I will be watching, even if it's at 10. I mean, granted, I still have to be back at San Diego Comic Con around 9 a.m. But I'm gonna
That's
go.
why they made coffee.
You gotta like
That's
that.
why.
That's why they
Yes.
made cars too.
Cocaine. Just to take a joke out of Deadpool
Wow.
and Wolverine.
The
was a joke.
CCC.
That
Wow,
was, yeah, that was a joke out of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Cars, coffee, and cocaine.
There you go.
The 3 C's.
That's right. That's all you need. So, speaking about all you need, there is something that's going all in, and that's DC. DC is starting a new initiative, I believe, and it was announced by Scott Snyder and I want to say something
Sullivan.
Williams. Josh Sullivan? Right on.
Yeah,
do you
I
want to take
believe
it
so.
away on what this is about, Drake?
So what I was listening to it was very convoluted on the YouTube on the video, but essentially Scott Snyder is going to be heading on what's called the DC goes all in, and essentially it's almost like a New 52 from my understanding, where there's just gonna be taking a lot of other creators, illustrators, writers, and not redoing, but revamping and retelling some beautiful stories that we already know. For example, DC All In Special Number 1 is gonna come out October 2nd, as Absolute Power Ends issue number 4 is gonna be on sale, and that's the initiative with a single issue mega event presented as a startling symmetrical flip book. So whatever all those words mean to you, they're kind of confusing for me.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. I will say though, just to make it clear, it is not a reboot, which is interesting.
okay, thank God.
Right? Yeah, because DC is known, like, speaking of the New 52, it was like a reboot. Right, like this is we're resetting the universe. If you want to learn the origin of Superman, if you want to learn the origin of Shazam, if you want to learn the origin, it was all kind of retold with the basics that we knew, but kind of redone in a different way. But this is not that. This is basically, it's kind of an entry point. It's not resetting the whole universe, from my understanding, but it is a way of retelling these stories and kind of allowing people who have never known where to jump in a DC story, saying, hey, this is a place for you to jump in. So I think that's a genius idea. It's kind of, to me, it feels like they're taking a page out of Marvel's book, because Marvel does these big crossover events between all their different properties, Avengers, X-Men, the Eternals, all that kind of stuff, right? And then, and it's this big thing like Secret Wars or Secret Invasion, or there's just a lot of secrets. So that's not a real one, but there's just, a lot of titles with secrets in it. Right. So I think this is super smart, because it allows DC does a better job of allowing entry points, I think, sometimes. When I went back and was reading all these X-Men comics, I was like, where the heck do I start? And luckily House and Powers of X was a way to do it, but it's pretty confusing. I think it's smart that DC's doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like I tried to jump into like an X-Men comic kind of recently, and I think it was the one you recommended, and it was a very good start. But there are definitely lines in there where they're like, remember what happened to that thing, and you're like, what happened to that thing, and you're like you're constantly doing this backtracking research.
Right.
So it is nice to have a good opening to jump in.
Yeah, exactly.
Comicbook.com had a little bit better kind of like telling than what I said, because I was super confused. But
okay, hit us
pretty
with
good.
it.
Because,
they nailed it.
Yeah, they freaking nailed it. I was just thinking my thoughts, and it was not good. But essentially, the idea is that Absolute DC will allow star creators a ton of creative freedom on their books, but it will be all playing into a story that plays off over the course of 2 years. And that is a nice little addition. I think just great to see that comic books are still ever evolving, and they're still trying to make good on not only retelling stories, but making updates and making it more relatable and connecting and trying to gain new audiences. And I think it's very helpful that you have massive studios doing live action and also illustrative things on the movie screens. But the OG, the physical copies, the on the ground paper backs that are probably made out of plastic now, but it's good to see that they're still alive and kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I noticed too from the video was that Scott Snyder kept saying DCU, and I thought that was really interesting wording, because it has been DC Comics universe, but DCU is very consistent with the terminology James Gunn is using for his universe too. So it makes me think that there will be some crossovers with the movies and shows. So yeah, when you were saying studios, I'm like, very much does this feel like it's completely incorporated just how Kevin Feige now manages all of Marvel along with the comics. It feels like this too is being associated with the DC universe movies coming out, especially with that Superman movie. I think we're going to see a lot of crossover, and I would assume that one part of this universe is going to be that cinematic universe now expanded through comics, which James Gunn had talked about it being fully integrated. I think you have video games, you have the movies and TV shows. It's going to be a really special time in DC, and I can't wait to see what they do. I know they have a big booth at SDCC this month, so I'm stoked.
It's that trifecta of entertainment where you're watching it, you're playing it, and you're reading it, right? So
yeah, it's almost like we talked about that stuff here.
Yeah, dude. It's the
crazy.
joy shtick, if you would say. All right. Anyway, moving on. Fucking twisters.
Moving
fucking
on.
tornadoes. All right.
Move it up.
So yes, Twisters came out, and it has been a wild year at the box office. Movies that seemed like they should hit have not, and then movies that have surprisingly been massive successes. I think it's surprising because it was as successful as it was, like Inside Out 2. But we're getting Twisters, and Twisters is crushing it at the box office. It is creating its own storm. It is broken the box office at $80.5 million. Yeah, yeah.
It's blowing us away, would you say, huh?
Is that a weather
you go.
joke?
Oh my god.
Maybe a little bit,
I love it. I love
seeing
it.
what the wind blew in.
We
Yeah.
weathered that storm.
So I have not watched this yet, but I did watch the original Twisters this past weekend. What about you guys? Have you been able to watch this?
I mean, I've watched the news, and there's twisters on there.
That's true.
there you go.
Real
Different
twisters.
kinds
real
of
life situation.
Real fear.
Real
There you go. Minus Glenn Powell.
I haven't watched this new one, nor have I watched the original this past weekend. But I do love the original. I want to watch this one. It's funny, when this thing first dropped, the fact that it was just called Twisters, I'm sure I'm not the only one that just kind of chuckled at this. Like, I'm like, this is
Right.
probably not going to be good.
Sharknado.
It's just called, you just added an S. Like, what's going on here? But, the actors are killer. And I'm pretty glad that it's getting, it got a good score, If it's better than The Meg, then I'm all in.
Well, to your point, this style of movie just doesn't happen as often, and for it to be doing really well says a lot about maybe a resurgence of what we like in terms of entertainment, maybe a resurgence of how we feel about like the climate, both literally and figuratively. So we want to see movies that entertain, and I think this is one of those movies that apparently is entertaining. So
Right.
it's worth a watch if it's making that money, dude. Or we can we just watch it. We'll just watch it because peer pressure.
Yeah. So according to Forbes too, this impressive debut gives Twisters the largest opening weekend ever for a disaster movie in adjusted terms. Let's see, besting The Day After Tomorrow, which made $68.4 million.
Day After
Oh, that's
Tomorrow's
right. I
good.
guess
That's
yeah,
one with
disaster movies
Cusacks?
do pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After Tomorrow is I think that's the one with Gilly.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Gilly
Dennis
Hall's-
Quaid. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Disaster movies are great. I think we haven't had like a volcano one in a long time. Like they should do one about what happens if the one in Wyoming explodes. That would be
Yeah,
kinda cool.
Yellowstone.
A
Yeah, yeah.
Yellowstone?
I just watched a TikTok about that. It would be
Get the
if
cast of Yellowstone.
What's that?
So get the cast of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
You could do that
Kevin
too.
How was?
Costner.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would probably do better than the movie that he just came out with.
Dang!
Ew.
Don't hurt on Horizon, okay?
Hey,
It's his
did you go
passion
see it?
project. I didn't see it because I had lots
Okay.
of stuff going on.
It's okay.
It's like,
But
it's
you
like
know I
someone's
love me a
mother once
Western.
said, "You can't complain
Wow.
about politics unless you vote. You
Oh,
can't
Jesus
defend
Christ.
the movie unless you see it
All right, fine. I'll go watch it sometime later.
on torrent."
No, I pay for everything.
No, I paid for the computer that it's on and the Wi-Fi, so it's like
So
I
I'm
paid for it.
practically paying for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
Yeah.
outta here.
dude.
Yeah. No. R.I.P. Sad that movie didn't interest me in one bit.
All right, well, wow, it just hurt the cowboy feelings. All right.
It didn't look interesting to me. I'm sorry.
Cowboy
Well,
feelings.
Jesus Christ.
Cowboy tears. Yeah, so Twisters, I gotta see it at some point. It's not happening this week, but looks great. And I dig the whole cast, so that should be a pretty fun one at some point. Now, Drake, you got to do something else instead of watch Twisters. You got to also do a little cosplay yourself. I have never been to one of these
A little
things.
Renaissance.
Yeah. Can we post some of these pictures online?
I didn't take a lot of pictures because I was immersed.
Alondra
You know
did.
what I mean? In arena, yeah, Alondra did because she was like, "You want to take pictures?" And I was like, "Yes, Alondra, I'd love to take pictures. I love taking pictures with you. I love you so much." And
That sounded legit.
Yeah. I
yeah,
believed it.
don't listen to the tone, listen to the words, right?
Yeah.
As Ronnie Chang says, you know what I mean? So it was located in Larkspur, Colorado. It's inaugurated in 1975, so it's been going on for a while.
Wow.
It's 60 acres with 338 acres of camping grounds. The thing is big. The traffic is real. And when you get in there, there's people who are really acting, and there's other people who don't know what
acting
Renaissance
real?
means. They're acting real Renaissance-y,
Okay.
if that makes any sense to
Real
you.
Renaissance right now.
Yeah, real Renaissance-y. There's some themed weekends, which is pretty cool. And so I was talking to our other friend Lance, who's been on the podcast before, about Renaissance Fair, just because he's lived in Colorado, about 10 minutes south of Larkspur for forever. And we talked about how, like, in the Renaissance Fair, it was super fantastic. It was super immersive. This place is built for the Renaissance Fair. So usually you have a Renaissance Fair, they bring everything in, they build it up, and then they have it for a little bit, and they tear it all down. This place exists regardless of whether or not there's a Renaissance Fair. And then when summer comes around, it's on for 8 weeks. So
Oh,
8
okay.
weekends.
For a second, I thought this was like forever Renaissance. I was like,
I mean,
damn, dude.
that's
Yeah.
kind of nuts. So there's food,
Nice.
which, there's food there.
You gotta eat.
Gotta
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
There's a jousting. There's
You gotta joust.
plays and things of such. They're doing magic somehow. Everything, they have a bunch of like individuals who make stuff, garb in terms of attire. They have like their own cobblers there. Everything's very cool in terms
That's-
of
yeah,
what
that's
they
pretty
bring
sick.
to it. And they all own all the things that they're doing. I went into a pelt shop, and I was able to get a coyote pelt, which is pretty cool beans. And you're helping out local businesses. You're helping out the Renaissance Fair as such. And then everybody's dressed up. Everybody's drinking mead and wine, and walking around and pretending.
How's the
"Hey,
mead and
huzzah."
wine?
The mead and wine. The wine was pretty decent. Colorado has a lot of microbreweries, so yes, there was a lot of that style of beer. The mead tasted very honey forward, which gets you real drunk, real crazy quick. So you got to be real careful. I will say that the attire was very eclectic, in my opinion. There was some individuals from a steampunk era, which we all know is not a Renaissance. There were
You call 'em out?
individuals. I
let 'em
didn't
know.
call them out because I didn't want to start an embargo.
Fair enough.
People get real upset, right? So
Yeah.
we also think about Renaissance fairs. It's in a time of like England and France during like the
Renaissance.
1600s, the Renaissance. All right, yeah, all
Wait, is
right,
that what that's from?
yeah, fucking roll credits.
I'm sorry. I'm
Roll
sorry.
credits. Jesus Christ.
It's the only thing I know.
Someone's rocking
I don't
around.
even
Is
know
that
what
how you
the
say that
rest-
word?
And so there were individuals there that were like fairies or elves, which you can make an argument for. Then there was individuals who were like Vikings or like Skyrim. There was individuals trying to dress up as like samurais.
Oh wow, you fit
Yeah.
right in.
So it was okay. Then there were some individuals who just took it as like I'm just gonna wear mesh, and then you're just gonna see boosted boobs and like flush booties. So it's not necessarily PG
Ugh, right?
for everybody.
yeah, it's
you know.
disgusting. It sounds like Baldur's Gate. They just
Yeah.
like
It's- I
turned it into
mean-
Baldur's Gate.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty much Baldur's Gate. Yeah, it's Baldur's Gate up in there.
See an owl bear?
Yeah, I didn't see an owl bear, but I did
Watch out,
see
those
a
things will try to
bear
bang
butt. What?
Ooh, look what
Heyo.
you did there.
Heyo.
That was great.
Yeah.
It's
Wait,
pretty
real
cool,
quick.
man.
I know you know your food. How was the food?
Do you want the true opinion of the
Yeah, I do.
former?
But take price into it, I guess.
Yeah,
If it's like affordable and it's good for the price, or was everything overpriced? How was it?
everything. There was nothing that was above. There was nothing that was below $5 in
Okay.
terms of food, and they had like it's so Renaissance-y, but they had like teriyaki chicken, which is coinciding with Renaissance.
With the Renaissance.
Yeah, they had gyros.
Sauce.
I had a pretzel dog that was like $8, $6, and it was just a hot dog and a pretzel. All of them were already kind of like pre-made, waiting in a bin, right behind a person who does not know how to use gloves and/or wash their hands.
It was pretty good, right?
Just like the times.
Yeah, so I mean, it was
Yeah,
like
just
the
like
times. It was very
Yeah, it's
immersive. It was very immersive.
It's like licking his fingers.
You
I was like, oh my god,
He's just licking his finger.
yeah,
This does sound too good.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah, yeah.
God.
Which one do you
They
want?
had
This one or this one or this one? Touch it all.
just turkey legs.
Let's get one from the bottom.
God damn, dude.
Stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
It was. I mean, he's not lying. That's kind of what it was like. But it was immersive, That's how it was at that time. So
Yeah. Wow.
we
that was-
lived, and we learned, and then we got loves. So
Anyone get
know,
sick?
no, not that.
Okay,
bad.
good.
I don't even know what like Renaissance food would be. Other than I just think like turkey legs
That's exactly what I was thinking.
and mutton chops, but I don't even know what mutton is.
I thought yeah. See, and then when I hear mutton chops, I think like
Yeah, yeah.
Cyber's, So.
Yeah. They
Me
had
too,
burgers
but I
and-
think it was a
and-
food, right? First, wasn't
It has to be. It
I
sounds
mean, a
like
mutton
food,
chop
too.
is the food and also a style of, because it looks like the mutton chop looks like the L
Oh,
of the
okay.
meat
Oh,
and
that's why they
the.
call it that, huh?
I want to say yes, but I am just making conjecture.
That's why they call the food that.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, so if you do get a chance, go dress up. It's fun.
Yeah.
There are some places that are way more serious about it, and like they're in the time period, which is nice. But if I went with friends, it was just a cool kind of hangout sesh. I mean, definitely bring cash, bring a lot of money because things are not inexpensive. Everything that I wanted to purchase was minimum $35. Everything, literally.
Holy
jewelry.
Gotcha. What was
smokes.
the price of admish?
And make was $25. You could buy it at King Supers or Kroger.
Oh, that's cool.
They sponsor it, so I mean,
That's cool.
it's pretty awesome. It's pretty large. So I believe this is one of the largest ones in the United States, but I think that's just me making it seem way more bigger than it is.
Let's check
mean-
comicbook.com real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's find out their description. But you said it was like 60 acres. That seems huge.
Yeah, no,
Something, right?
it's I mean, it's huge. It like the amount of when we got there's like 5 separate parking areas, including just in front. All the stalls were completely taken. This was by like 2 o'clock, 12
Wow.
o'clock, and in there it was like, just imagine like opening day of Disney, but it's like a quarter of the size. So
Yeah.
it was packed. It was packed.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
How-
What did you dress up as? Like, yeah, you kind of look like an Assassin's Creed-ish character.
Yeah, so I didn't
And was
get a
your booty out?
costume. My booty wasn't out. My tummy was out a little bit because I was wearing a woman's small, because Alondra's coworker was able to
Turn you into a
help me
woman?
borrow a costume.
And it looked good on you. Come on.
Yep, and I put that on, and then I was able to get the pelt, and it really put the ensemble together.
Nice.
And then my wife is doing a little bit of crafting here, and she found that in Texas has the largest Renaissance fair. Obviously, everything is bigger in Texas.
Yeah, that's true.
How-
No, you guys
how are-
both look really great.
Oh, thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
Yeah.
How are the smells?
The smells were not bad. There were
Okay.
not a lot of gross smelling things. Even though it did rain, I would say that the worst smelling places were where they just had porta potties because they were heavily used,
Makes sense.
and soap didn't exist in that time. So
You should have brought
They
some
got
soap.
everything right. Yeah.
yeah, some places really
That's pretty
stuck to it.
cool. So would you go again?
I think I would go again. I would go again. I would plan accordingly. I would probably dress up a little bit more. Going with people I think makes sense, and then I would like to be a little bit more wealthy so I could, don all the gob into which those merchants are there. So I
Yeah.
can-
Me too.
Throw coin at people
yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Bag peasant.
in little bags.
Come
Take
here,
these.
wench.
There should be more than enough. And you just throw a bag of
Yes.
coins at them.
Yeah.
You have varying heights of people, starting at like little people to giants, so that they could fold over and you can use them like human steps.
There were
That would be
some
great.
large people. Yeah. There's one guy who looked like the mountain from the Game of Thrones.
Oh,
really?
shit.
Damn. All right. Well, don't joke around with that guy.
Yeah, you don't fuck with him. Serious business, that guy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Can we post some pictures online? I will ask.
Yes,
Alondra.
I will. I will ask Alondra for said pictures, and hopefully she will oblige.
There you go. I love
Nice.
it. Yeah, you guys looked fantastic though, and
Grazie,
yeah, it seemed
grazie.
pretty cool. I have yet to go, but it seems kind of like one thing you got to do once in your life, just to see it. So, all right, let's move on to the reviews now, because we had some amazing shows come to a conclusion. Well, for me, one amazing show came to a conclusion, and then another show did. And then, yeah, I think we'll kind of start with Star Wars, because this show was controversy going in, and I think it was controversy going out. Everybody, not everybody, a lot of what I see online is very split on it, and is the Acolyte. Were you guys able to watch the finale to season 1 of the Acolyte?
I was.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it away, Scott. What do you think?
It was okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay. It's a very
It was
fair
cool
response.
seeing I think the highlight of it for sure was Soul fighting Darth Guns and outside
God.
It-
With his double lightsaber
Dude,
thing. That was pretty
yeah,
sick.
yeah,
Um,
he's packing, man. Manny Jacinto is just like,
Yeah,
dude
dude.
was jacked for this show.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. It was okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Didn't
was okay.
didn't fully win you over by the end of it. You weren't like, yeah, it all got
No, 'cause-
explained.
Yeah, because I know I missed the last episode with you guys, and I think that was one of the when they covered the whole what happened that night, and like it did show a lot. But the thing I was like, but she still just started the fire. I thought someone made her start the fire. She just like lit something on fire and was like, oh, fire, and then dropped it and then caused a big fire. And I was like, what? Like I thought that was like weak. Like
Yeah,
I guess that
was a
shit
weak
happens in
explanation.
real life. Like kids
True.
just accidentally start fires. But I thought there was more to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I guess it was kind of confusing at some points where like maybe it's just me. I'm like, which one's the bad one, the good one? Like when they're just like, because they're constantly bouncing back and forth. Like I want to do this now, and it's like, no, wait, don't. And then like, I'm like, who's good right now? Like who's bad? Like there's a little bit of that.
Right. Who are we supposed to be rooting for in this fight? But real quick, I will agree with you. I think episode 7 was one of the better episodes of all season. And I know people loved episode 5 with the action and everything, but episode 7 actually had the most explanation in it. It had, for me, at least this is where my thoughts are. For people who were still kind of waiting for the show to really hit, it was a little too late, I think.
Yeah.
And episode 7, you do get an explanation, but I didn't necessarily felt like relieved by it, even though I was very positive on it. Like if I had to give it a rating, it would have been like a 7 out of 10 for episode 7, So, but yeah, and then episode 8, it didn't feel complete to me. It didn't hit home the way I wanted it to. I'm like,
Yeah,
dang.
like I wanted to like really feel for OSHA when OSHA's like I wanted to really feel like, oh, I get where you're coming from when you're choking out Soul, but it didn't really hit for me. Like I was just
neither.
like, why you like? It felt like I was like, but you just found out this one thing, but I feel like everything else should outweigh. Like it wasn't told in a way where I was like, oh yeah, I get it,
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah,
No,
it didn't
Soul
land for
that
me.
hook toi. Okay, what?
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't sold on it.
But I agree. We put out a post on Threads, and it was really big. It had like the most response ever, and I had 6 questions that I was like, wait, why this, and this, right? And one of them, and these were the questions. The first one was like, why did Basil sabotage Soul's ship for chasing May?
I didn't understand that.
He helped her. He helped Soul capture her. Why did he care? If Soul shot her down, how did he know he was even going to kill her? Why sabotage the ship? That was weird to me. And then she conveniently crash lands back on Brendock. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Coincidences happen in Star Wars.
Right.
2, OSHA turns to kill the guy who tried to give her a good life after learning Soul killed her mom. It seemed just so quick and drastic to me. That's just how it felt, right? So I'm just kind of agreeing with you, like it just felt, that one got a lot of response from people, where people, which I don't know. It was just funny. People were like, how could you not see how that would make her change? And I just didn't personally feel that it justified her change in that moment, like, I don't know. I don't know. For me, it just didn't feel like it was
you know what? I guess what threw me off, now that I'm thinking more about it, is like, I didn't really get this whole up to this point. I didn't really get this feel from her, like she had this like super repressed rage or anything.
Right.
So for her to like just find out one fact and then all of a sudden be like, it seemed like more powerful than her sister that was like evil the whole time. It felt like, like she's not gonna be the bad guy the whole time. And I was like, what caused that? Like earlier, you were like super good, you were neutral, you were trying to like. And you were like, oh, I couldn't do the Force as good as my sister, so I'm like, just whatever. But then you find out he like kills your mom, and you're like, like it unleashes every. Like I didn't understand that, and maybe that's why it didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think you thought the same thing, Drake?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much inconsistencies with what we already know, and
Right.
even if they tried to make up for it with, you know, bringing in Plagius, or showing how, that the Kyber crystal was bled, how easy this person was just able to, take soul. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
words escape me because it's frustrating,
Mhm.
and I have nothing to say
Yeah.
about it. It
Yeah.
it exists. That's cool.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
okay,
it
so
did feel like when Soul was being choked out, he's kind of like letting it happen. It seemed
Yeah,
like,
which is
right?
still like,
So,
but why? Because you care about her, but at the same
no,
point in time, you
yeah.
okay,
you went through all
okay,
that
so
time to
I
save
think
her.
I get his
Get out of here.
perspective more than like I understand why he's like because he literally he was like I just tried to do what I thought was right and I'm sorry like he doesn't know
yeah,
what to do anymore.
exactly.
I get his point of view like and yeah like the choke yeah if you got to kill me whatever do what you got to do I'm sorry but I didn't understand why she went straight to that's what didn't work for me.
Right. So I'm gonna give you the top response that we got for that question, which
Okay.
was this person, Johnny to Bin Mike Music or something. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
dude, whatever his name is. Basically, he goes, I think the truth of it all hitting at once was too much for her. Maybe if she had more time to process it, it wouldn't have been that way.
But that is Soul's fault in the first place, right? Because he tried to save her, tried to hide all that information from her in the beginning, hoping that she would be good and she wanted to be a Jedi, but in reality she was unsavable, right? So you're giving that whole Anakin situation where he just went through so much trauma, it was just impossible on the path that was led. So you're trying to get the duel of fates as such, right? But with those two characters, Osha and May.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
regardless of that whole situation, even in the end where we're getting May standing next to Kimir, and now what? Like
No,
now
yeah,
what?
OSHA standing next to Kyber. Yeah,
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 whatever,
for
whoever.
sure. But yeah, yeah, I agree. Oh, we'll get to that point in a second. But let's see. Yeah, so I said in response, and you guys can let me know if you agree or not. I say I agree on the weight of the revelation, but for most of the show, she was the embodiment of the light side. I think it could have been. I could have used one more episode or more time see Osha fall to the dark side so it didn't feel so abrupt. Also, still feel like Soul deserved a better death, or does Soul deserve better?
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Right? Because it just seems so fast. All of a sudden, she's like, "Wait, you did what?" Peeking out of the shadows, and it's like, force choke, you're dead." Like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Yeah,
we
that
don't know, but
exactly.
the showrunner claims to know a lot about Star Wars,
She
and
does, and I give her credit.
so
I think
so
Leslie
why
Henderson does
then
know a lot.
So why then, as fans, are we giving suggestions into which all of us are in concurrent agreement that it would have been
I,
better, and yet this individual did not?
I want to be careful because on threads that is very much not the case. On threads, very much people do not agree with us. People love this show.
People love the show.
And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, I want to be careful because yeah, I thought much like you guys, and we have this conversation every week. People would think like we think. That is not the case. It is very
Right, right,
split.
right.
And yeah, this kind of brings me into like the second part, like bleeding the crystal, right? Which I think you were getting at, Drake. I was under the impression it takes a lot of time. It takes focus. It takes energy. You got to pump your hate, your rage in this crystal, and it happens so fast. And it was cool to see it in live action, but I was like, wait, what? How powerful is she when Anakin didn't do that and he's killing little kids, stomping up to the temple?
And
He's a pretty bad dude.
He was
Right.
made of the Force
Right.
too, as well, right? He's in the same position as Osha and May, where he was created out of the Force. And you're saying that the biggest bad we've ever seen, aside from Sidious, can't do it? And when he has the most rage and the most hate, when this girl just
Yeah,
because
I
like what?
agreed. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's why there were certain things in this episode that I did like the bleeding of the crystal thing. That was cool. It would have been cool to see that happen over time. Her going dark would have been cool to see happen over time. Just bump my mic. I think that episode 7 should have happened a lot earlier.
Yeah,
It should have maybe mid-season, but should have been like what we got this for this finale, and then the Jedi die, and then having to deal with like the after part, like dealing with them being the same person. They're like, this could have been told better and tighter. I feel like they kind of stretched out certain things that didn't need to be stretched out. And unfortunately, I mean, it's cool that I get why there are people who really like the show. Like, there are a lot of cool things that I see here and there, but if it was just a tighter show, it would have been a lot better. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. It took so long to get there.
I agree. It seems like it expanded on things that we were like, okay, we don't need to stay with this that much. Like, it was so obvious Chimera was going to be the bad guy. They could have gave us somebody else just to throw a little mix in there, right? But yeah, and then there's things that rush through, like Hilnaka's death. Like, what? We want to see this Jedi go out in style, and yet at the end of the episode, we just see him dead. But yeah, I want to go to a point that you were bringing up, Drake, which is at the end with Osha and Chimera looking over the water, and then all of a sudden he grabs her hand. What were your thoughts in that moment?
In that moment, I kind of was just like, okay. Like we already know from just the lore as a whole, as being fans, that this is being played from behind the shadows from somebody different. We already know that it's a lot of people made or some individuals online who are also Star Wars fans made conjectures that this was them kind of accepting the idea, or showing that they are limited in their lifespan, because we know that they're not going to last forever, and potentially their journey is doomed, but they're facing forward and putting it together. But we didn't get any of that because we don't know them as characters, because there wasn't enough backstory, there wasn't enough backlog for us to really care about them. And even then, the Sith apprentice and lord situation, that doesn't make sense here. And even if they are to get to wherever they're going to get to, what more can they already do when they did not establish what is going to be taking place next?
Yeah, it is confusing. It makes sense, but also, like, I guess I was just confused. I'm like, wait, are they all of a sudden an item, or are they, just facing it together? Some people were like, you're crazy if you didn't see sexual tension between them all season. I was like, I get Chimera is hot, but like, I don't think that necessarily means like
I think
they're
that's
gonna hook
that's
up
something a lot of people just say now too. Like, just because you want people to bang
to get
Yeah,
together.
I
Does it
mean,
mean, like-
obviously, our sexual tension is super real, but we don't talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Yeah, and Scott, to what you were saying. It's like, just because you want them to bang doesn't mean they should, or it makes sense, And
Right.
yeah, I kind of fall in the camp that they were, to your point, Drake. They were looking at the future and saying, we're gonna take on whatever's next together. And I can kind of get behind that. But yeah, I think the turn for Osha for me still just feels so abrupt. I don't quite get it. I will say though, it justified a lot of what the Jedi did, or like why they died throughout the show for me. Like, I really made sense why Andar died, I guess. Like, she was the most justified. I didn't want her to be painted as this person who was evil, and it definitely doesn't seem like that. Even so, for Soul, it was, I don't know, something about that still felt weird too. The fact he was like, oh, I want a Padawan. It was like, yeah, maybe that's what it was. He was giving too much into his emotions and everything. But yeah, I don't know, just things didn't gel as well as like some other things that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But last thing, I think on my end, actually two things. Vernestra throws Soul's name under the bus, goes to Yoda. What do we think about that? And then two, we see that a Darth Master, if you will, peeks from behind the shadows on unknown Sith Island. And yeah, we see that it's Darth Plagueis. Do you guys have any thoughts on those two situations?
I mean, I think I just mimic some other individuals who are on YouTube who have been, talking about this content for an extremely long time, like Star Wars theories, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very hard to, flow with the timeline, in the sense of now Yoda's alive. So Yoda is alive, and Ki-Adi Mundi is alive. and they both understood that there's some sort of weird Sith situation going on, but yet in the future when Anakin comes around, there's no clue that it's taking place. They have no, semblance of whatever is taking place in the Force. Then you have Darth Plagueis, who we've only heard in the background, and yes, you can kind of push it into Darth Sidious, and that moving forward, which then creates this finite availability for Kimir and Osha, where we know that they're not going to exist anymore because we know we don't see them in the future episodes. So either something crazy happens, or maybe they are there, et cetera, or maybe they change. But
yeah, maybe Sidious captures them.
Maybe
and
Sidious
then
captures
uses
them.
them to clone himself.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's too confusing. And if I'm gonna play the card of like, I'm a fan and I understand the lore. Like, I'm definitely not as deep as some of these individuals who have a lot more credit in that situation. I'm not, I don't have any directorial, credits or writing credits, etc. But just as a fan, right? If somebody doesn't understand and you have to like explain it, just much like when you're telling a joke and you have to explain it, then it's not hitting. Then something's wrong on one end, right? And especially if I'm the individual who's receiving it and I have nothing to do with it, and I'm watching it and it's confusing, then it must be confusing, or I'm just not smart, which I would argue against.
Yeah, you're very not smart. So like that's probably what it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's probably that.
You're smart. You are a very
It's probably
smart
that.
person. So no, but I
Just
agree
dumb.
with I agree with you. You're not dumb. It is like there's so much I felt like I understood by watching the YouTube recaps, and it's like how could I. I could watch House of the Dragon and understand the context of things without much explanation. But Star Wars, where it's supposed to be a family show and for kids, if anybody wants to push back against it, George Lucas said the first movies are supposed to be for kids. So like you're gonna take this franchise that's supposed to be there and then like make something so blatantly obvious and then make things so confusing in certain ways. But I think it's also that there's a lot of strong actors in this show, but I think some of the writing wasn't that tight. And I also think that May and Osha were not the best actors to convey some of these emotions. That was my interpretation. Like I don't think the actress that played May and Osha could really do two different characters and really deliver Osha's feeling this and May's feeling this. Like I just didn't ever get that. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you though, man. All jokes aside. Yeah, what about you, Scott?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And just to go real quick onto that, like Star Wars' family and whatnot. Like when I just recently saw the preview or the trailer for Dune Prophecy, I was like, oh man, like, fuck, could you imagine if Star Wars was like this? Like, it sucks to think like. I mean, I'm happy what we get and stuff, like, and it's cool. And like in the way, in all honesty, in the format we get it, like there's so much more outreach in this, like so many more people can enjoy it. We're obviously among like, it seems like maybe the minority of like not liking the show, which is fine. Like, I mean, I can live with that for sure. But there is that part where you're like, it'd be cool if like there was one storyline that was like, maybe just got to the point. I don't know. Maybe it's hard. Like, I don't think going darker would make this necessarily better.
But
I think so. A tighter storytelling for sure, I think would make it better. And again, like what you're saying, like I don't think we shouldn't have to like look too into what people are saying without them just telling us. Like, the fact that we got all these recaps in there, and showing us, like, we're kind of like just making. A lot of this is like assuming,
right.
like, oh, how could you not tell that this? Like you gotta assume it. It's like, but they're not showing me this. Like, so it's not.
If they are, it's like one little second, and you're supposed to, decide who this person is and their whole emotional state in this one moment because you've got one scene about it, and you're like,
okay. It sounds like you're making the show better based on like what you were assuming is happening.
Yes.
Like, whereas like if they just did that, it would be better. So. I get it. I get why people like it, but at the same time, like it just could have been done better. I think.
I agree.
And I'm sure they could probably agree with that too. Like if it was done better, they'd enjoy it even more. So,
Do you think this show would have been better had it had more episodes or longer episodes?
I think it would have been better if there was just different writers and different actors and actresses.
I appreciate the hot take here, my man.
Yeah. I think they could. I mean, they could still use all the same actors. I think maybe the order, maybe cut the fat and like get to the point quicker. And then if that leaves you with less episodes, write more good story to fill that. If you got an 8-episode block or whatever, like the fact that we can get, I mean, granted, it's not fair to compare certain shows, but I mean, like, there are shows out there where they're just as many episodes and they feel like you've watched seasons of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So they could do better. I'm sure. I mean, it is Disney and whatnot. So I'm sure there's a lot of like, it's good enough. You know, like that's ship it, go. We got a schedule, and then like I'm sure they're moving shit quickly. Maybe there's not enough time to like really sit with stuff. But I don't doubt that it probably could be better if they were just like tighter and maybe just like more explanation of certain things. Because I definitely do want to know more about certain stuff that they just didn't dive into. So
yeah. I agree. For context, too, House of the Dragon and this show pretty much had the same budget. So that kind of blows my mind.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's, very wild. You know, I
Doesn't
think
help
like,
it.
yeah, maybe like $20 million difference, which sounds like a ton, but to Disney, and we're talking about HBO, it's not really in the grand scheme of things. And this show was never, I don't believe, was supposed to be on the scale of like a House of the Dragon, but like, we'll compare, you're right. I think it's unfair to compare them, and yet it's so hard when you look at mirroring characters that we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon, and then you look at mirroring characters like you get with Mayanosha. It's like, these two are not the same. They are not like us, to quote Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, it's not the same stuff. So quickly, we'll talk, before we move on, I'm going to let everybody drop like one positive thing, or if you want, you can do it either way. You can give me 3 positives and 1 negative, or you can give me 3 negatives, 1 positive. And we'll start with you first, Drake.
Lightsaber battles.
Okay. It's positive.
Interesting Jacinto. Is positive.
Positive, yeah.
It was set in a time where we're interested in High Republic, so 3 positives. And then the negative would be everything about the show.
Including the 3 positives.
Including the 3 positives.
Could be better. No, that's hilarious. Wait, what did you say? You said the lightsaber battles.
The lightsaber
Old
battles.
Republic.
The lightsaber battles, the time that it's set in, and then Khmer. Those are all 3 great, interesting things.
Yeah,
And then-
actually, I think those are my 3 highlights as well. Those were like for sure the standouts. This Manny did such a good job in this show. Like he got less screen time than some other characters, and I definitely wanted more of him. I kind of wish the show
100%.
revolved around him.
Yeah, he was by far, I think, the most interesting, compelling character in the entire show.
Yeah, so I'm glad he was a part of it. You know, like they could have had another dude, and then I would have liked the show less. That sounds mean, but he was unique. His helmet, everything about him was really cool. I did like the helmet. Everything Drake was saying. This time, I kind of wish, and I hope they still do. Like, I hope they stick with this time and like tell a different Jedi story. Like maybe there's more stories to be told. So like this one just didn't land for me, but I'd like to see another story in this time. They don't necessarily need to follow this one in particular. Even if it's like a one-off or something, I think they could do a lot. Yeah, I think just the negative is the stuff that I was saying. I think it could have just been tighter, could have been told better. Yeah. But again, real quick, if you like the show, that's totally awesome. Like, I'm not trying to make you not like the show.
Right. These are just our criticisms of it, which is completely fair because we also are fans of it, and this is just things that didn't land well for us. So it is what it is. But if you didn't notice it and you don't mind it, like, dude, if you enjoy it, hell yeah, I think you're right. We're stoked for you. We're pumped.
For sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I'm not going to rehash it. I think you guys already did a fantastic job of saying the highlights of the show, which I completely agree. The action was cool and all that stuff. But I think, to your point, Drake, with everybody saying, hey, this is the first story we're getting in the High Republic. This is so cool, and you're like, it's so awesome. They don't need to have anything to do with the Skywalker saga. I still will always wonder, why do this story that then automatically funnels in to the Skywalker saga with the prequels? If you're going to say, hey, you can do a story at any time and whatever, right? Why make this be the start of the downfall of the Jedi that then leads into the prequels? That just seems dumb.
Yeah.
Like, give me a different story still set in the High Republic. I don't, there's this whole idea out there of like, it's so good to see like the Jedi weren't perfect and whatever. It's like, I mean, I guess I will die on this hill. I didn't need that story. If you want to give me a realistic take, I got to guest on this new upcoming show. It's Giraffe's new podcast that's based around Star Wars. Shout out to Sounds of the Thal. It was a ton of fun. But I said there's a big online portion of the community that thinks this story is just watching a bunch of dirty cops go in there, disturb some people, accidentally kill somebody, and then cover up for each other. And I also, even though that's not exactly my opinion, I can see where they're coming from. Why make that the story? Like, I don't need my Jedi, I guess, and maybe it's my old school bias being attached to like, the Jedi were always messed up. It's like, yeah, but why do we need to tell that story when you could tell any story set in the High Republic? So I agree with you guys. I would love to see more stories set in the High Republic. I just didn't personally need to see this story. And I think what we got was fine. It just never fully landed. It never hit home in any way where I felt connected to any of these characters except for Kymir. And yeah, I think that's kind of a shame for me as a fan. But hey, again, if you enjoyed it and loved it, that's sick. Also, we got bait and switched with a lightsaber whip. That was in one scene that we got in a trailer. So that was messed up.
That was most of the budget, so totally liked it.
And for all of those reasons, I'm out.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I don't know if you have some thoughts on this show. You want to tell us why we're wrong or why you loved it, whatever. Send us an email. Hit us up on social media. All right, let's jump into the show that we were inadvertently comparing it to, which is House of the Dragon. We had episode 6. I think this was kind of a slower episode, but definitely a lot of setup. I think we're getting that big battle at the end of the season, whether it's next episode in the penultimate episode or if it's in the finale. But I think this had a lot of good stuff in it. And no matter what, even if it's just setup and it's just talking, this story continues to be interesting. And even the side characters are interesting. What did you guys think about House of the Dragon episode 6? And I could start with you, Scott, if you watched it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is definitely one of those shows where I do enjoy the not action scenes. What I'm trying to say, like
right,
all
like
the setup, all of
Yeah.
the just character interaction, the plotting, the teeing up for like what's to come. I thought it's great. It definitely feels very Game of Thrones. You learn more about the characters, and there's still like that. There's still this show always has that feeling of you're like worried for someone, and that definitely had that when Smokescreen was trying to be ridden in this episode.
Yeah, with Alan, like Corliss's bastard son.
Yeah. Oh, no, the
Oh, for sure,
before.
Stefan.
Yeah. When
yeah.
he was gonna ride, as soon as he was like, "I got it," or he said something, I was like, "Don't do that." Like, I was like, wait till you're on the dragon. But
you're
yeah,
done, buddy.
I love it. I love this show. I'm always looking forward to it. I had overnights this weekend, and this is one I made sure to wake up a little early for, so we could watch it before I started my shift.
Nice.
That's how I feel about this show.
Hell yeah. Yep. What about you, Drake?
So, I didn't get to watch the latest episode because Alondra, my wife, wanted to go back and watch Epi 1. So I'm
that's
essentially
nice of
getting
you.
to watch the episodes concurrently.
That's cool.
And obviously we're so far down the line, but I did watch season 1 at points in time. And so having watched it from the beginning up until I think we're on episode 3 or so, and then obviously doing research and reading about the latest episodes. For me, I don't get spoiled. I like the journey of what's taking place. And as I'm watching it from the beginning and knowing about that, I'm just like, man, how much crazy stuff needs to happen in order to get from here to there. And to watch it unfold the way it is. We talked about, I think, episode 2, where the twins end up taking each other's lives. And just watching that, like, it's very much like The Bear for me, where I'm like, man, does this need to happen in order for this to, like, keep going? Like, is this, like, what's happening here? Like,
what are you guys
you're
doing?
invested.
Yeah, you love these characters. You realize you're not going to see them anymore.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the Acolyte in that situation, where, like, the characters
Here we
are
go.
like, here we go. And so, and to the point too of seeing how there was a point in time where a dragon was flying over, and then they were aiming a huge arrow at it, and then we had talked about how killing dragons, you're killing gods, and so you make them kind of less than, and that whole idea of that kind of sparked the general idea of, oh, that's why all the dragons are gone, because they realized that they could kill them all. And if we can do that, we can have control, because it's harder to defeat individuals who are trying to take power with beasts that we can't tame, even more so control. And now that we can take those apart, now it becomes a mind game. So seeing how the mind games are working on top of the mind games that we get led into in Game of Thrones, I think this show is really the epitome of rolling a snowball down a snowy mountain, and you just watch it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. In that sense, yeah, obviously I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm getting to see kind of everything that's taking place, and kind of like just the turns of like, why are you doing this? You don't have to do that. Like, you just, I don't know,
Yeah.
communication. If they had telephones, I think it would have been different.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, everything's
Yeah,
a fortnight away. You're like, damn, it takes fucking weeks to get a message across.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think that was a perfect description on the snowball, because you're right. It does. Every week seems to build, and yet, as much as somebody's doing something dumb, you can't argue that is their character. You're like, they're so compelled to do this, they have to. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I know it's wrong. They've probably even. Everybody around them knows it's wrong, but they think it's the right thing to do. And
Right.
yeah, again, maybe unfairly comparing it to the Acolyte, it just seems so earned and is so justified. It's just like, I love House of Dragon, what's doing. So this episode in particular, yes, where they decide, the Blacks, that they have all these dragons in Dragonstone, they need riders for them. We saw at the end of last week's episode that, Jacaerys brings to Rhaenyra, hey, there was a lot of bastard, what do they call them, dragon seeds out there. We need to try to get some of these dragon seeds, put them on dragons. So sea smoke is one of those things. Sir Kristen Cole volunteering, yeah, I was like, dude's turning into a shish kebab. Like, you are not making it. And for a second, the dragon's kind of like on board, like, all right, I see you, like, we're cool. And then as soon as he turned his head, I was like, that dude's done. So fully flambéed. We later on see that Alan, I think it's Adam. It's his younger brother, Adam. So Lord Corlys has two bastard sons, and we see that Rhaenys tells him, hey, bring your sons into this. You should treat them like their family, and which was really cool, I think, about her. One of the best characters in all of Game of Thrones. I loved Rhaenys. But so they're brought in. We see at the end that Adam is now riding sea smoke, and that Alan is shaving his head because he has to hide that he's a Valyrian, tied to Corlys, which I thought that was such a cool detail. Now, what's the other thing? More dragon seeds and more small folk, as this episode is rightly titled. We start hearing what they have to say about what's going on in King's Landing, but also what they're hearing with Rhaenyra and the Blacks, right? There's no food going in to King's Landing. They hear that Aemon is throwing parties every night. He's put himself as Prince Regent, and he's fully just like the evil guy that's taken over. That is just like brutal.
Scar.
I think there was that Scar? Yeah, he's Scar.
Yeah.
He's absolutely, that's a great comparison. Perfect. But I loved kind of all this small folk and showing all these dragon seeds throughout this episode, and that they are small folk, and how I think Rhaenyra and the Blacks are going to elevate them to these higher levels because, one, they need them, and two, now they're going to have their hands basically, they're going to be the guy just chilling, having a normal life, and all of a sudden have keys to the nukes. And so, granted, their nukes aren't as big as Vhagar, which is Aemon's dragon, but still, they're getting insanely elevated in status. And I thought this episode really brought home those points.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well said, man.
Oh,
That's a good caption. I was like,
or
a recap.
I was like,
oh man.
I was just hoping you would jump in at some point, like, okay, save me. But
I'm like, this guy's killing it right now, dude. My bad.
But no. It just really does. It builds this world so well, and we get to see what's going on with everybody in this. Even with what happens with Mazaria, the Grey Worm, and Rhaenyra at the end of the episode. Like,
Yep.
never. like Rhaenyra was always doing her duty, providing these kids. Whether it was her first son, I think it was Laenor, who then goes off with like disappears with his like gay lover, and everybody thinks he's dead. To her duties with Daemon, who she might have felt romantic with when she was younger. Clearly not the case anymore. And then with Mazarya coming in and truly being a real confident and a supporter, their relationship to me feels very earned. It was pretty hot, but it was very earned. And I was kind of.
Are they doing this?
Yeah. But it makes sense. Like it fully makes sense, and it makes sense for the story, and I dug it. So
Just imagine Daemon coming back, going, "What is going on?"
Yeah, because she was his concubine too, or whatever, mistress or whatever you want to call her, right? Yeah.
Weren't they like they were engaged at one point or something, right?
I think so. I think he tries to propose to her.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's cool. I love that whole like Rhaenyra's not able to like just go out there into battle, ride her dragon and whatnot, but she's able to win the people over in other ways through Mysaria's like like we have control over the food, send in these things, put the fire.
There's other ways
it's such
to win
a
a
simple
war
little
or fight a
subtle
war.
thing. Yeah.
That was such a cool part.
She just sends the person in the bar. Is like, this sucks, right? Like I heard they got food up there. It's a lot of good food, actually.
What, they're partying? Yeah, Viserys would never do that, right, guys? Oh, yeah, he wouldn't do that. Not when we were struggling. Yeah, that's what I thought. It just shows, like, you want to talk about, like, fake news, like, talk about, like, it's such a crazy way. That's kind of what this is showing, how you can manipulate people with, news.
Strategic placements of just someone speaking out loud. And
right.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's cool. I love all that. Part of me is like, man, how long is Daemon gonna trip in this castle, man? Like,
okay, thank you.
This guy's like in this never-ending nightmare. Like, learn something, dude. Like,
I know it's been 4 episodes of him just having nightmares and sweating and like seeing his mother and his brother and like, yeah, dude, just. At the end of it, though, doesn't he, like, go away? But, yeah, it's been 4 episodes. Hopefully this is the end of Daemon's trippy dreams.
Yeah, like, this... I'm torn between, like, I really love it, but that at the pace everything else is going, I'm like, Daemon, you got to get into this battle, man. Like, you can't just keep fucking around over here. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, from a book perspective, I'm like, cool, yeah, I want to see all of it and stuff, but... Yeah, I just couldn't help but feel that. And, yeah, in the end, like you're saying, he's like, I can't take this anymore. You guys are poisoning me or something. I gotta get out of here. Hopefully there will be something to be had there, but it really felt like, man, you just wasted your time there and now you're dug out.
Yeah.
Like, you just made us all watch that. But yeah, I know there'll be more there, but it's also cool to see Sir Criston Cole just becoming just less and less important.
Right.
I don't know. I think after a while I didn't really like him, and like so it's nice. Like right, okay,
Yeah.
cool. We're all on the same page here. We're not Team Christian Cole.
Yeah, I think it actually, if you want to get the internet's opinion, people agree too. He's Joffrey. Like everything he's done.
What a simp.
Yeah, I mean for sure, but also like he's just taken every chance to try to throw something back in Rhaenyra's face, and now he's doing it to Alicent because it's like the first time he has power. But as soon as you get that dragon battle where Rhaenys dies and Aegon gets burned, he's like, holy shit, I was playing with something I had no idea what I was doing.
And now,
like,
and then Aemon's just like, so you're gonna go in there, like, and now he's just like, fuck, now I'm just a pawn. Like this sucks. Like I vouched for you. He like picked the wrong side. It's crazy to see Alicent just get dismissed from the court.
Yeah,
like,
she also, think about all the things that she's done, pushing Rhaenyra out, and like, it should be a male, it should be this, and now she's kind of put herself in a terrible position because of what she was pushing for. Which again is just fantastic writing, because you do kind of, at least in small ways, I feel sympathy for her, and even for, not really sympathy for Sir Criston Cole, but you're like, look what you did, dog. Look, you set this up for yourself.
Right, and all the decisions they're making, you get why they're making them. You're like, like Sir Criston Cole, like everything he, the way he got here, he's kind of just like reaching for branches. He's falling out of a tree, and he's just trying to like, this is probably a good one, and then they just keep breaking. So so you get it. You understand what's going on with all the why they're doing what they're doing. It's so good.
Yeah.
I feel like, was there something else we're missing from this episode?
Well, the last thing I want to touch on is like the comparison, right? Because we were talking about the differences in comparing two characters, Osha and May, right? And the
Right.
comparison I think that this show is really driving home, in a lot of ways, is Damon and Eamon, right? Like they're two halves or opposite halves on the same coin. Like they're both like the best warriors. They were trained. They thought they got passed over for the crown, and both weren't given the crown. And we're seeing how they deal with it in their own ways. And I think what this season is setting up, I don't know if it gets there this season, but is basically a big battle between them. Like at some point, their dragons are going to clash, or they're going to see each other and be on foot and fully have this battle. And I think just the comparisons between this uncle and nephew is just so well done. And it really is showing us like, see, this is who you were, this is who you are now, see what this person is becoming, because they wanted to best you, but by besting you they wanted to become you. I thought that was just so, this is that comparison done really, really well.
Yeah, I agree. And it's crazy too. You're saying like they had the same budget, and there's more episodes of House of Dragon.
Right. And they're longer, and the sets feel real. There's some parts like the things that were on location for the Acolyte were really nice when they're getting that Lord of the Rings, all the Jedi are walking across before they all just get slaughtered the next episode. But they're all walking across that canyon or the ridge. Right. And then you look at House of the Dragon, and every set, even if it's like a built set, looks like shit. They're really in King's Landing. They're really at Harrenhal with the water dripping and everything dilapidated. And, but it just didn't always feel that way, I feel like, for the Acolyte. So,
That's true.
The
And
sets are
also,
amazing.
shout out to that show. That show is great too. If you guys aren't watching it, the what is it? The houses dragons have built or something.
Oh,
The
yeah.
making of each episode.
making
Like
of,
it
yeah.
comes out right after, and it's like it's cool to just jump in there and see. Yeah, like you're saying, like they build these practical sets. They gotta make sure they're waterproof. It's just crazy to hear like these experts going, yeah, and it wasn't leaking. We're at the first try too. Like it's just kind of cool.
Like even they're surprised.
Yeah, like wow, we did it. Like, yeah, it's just awesome. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this show's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, let's move on though quickly. We got the last thing, which we got the boys finale. The boys. I think
The
it's
boys.
maybe well documented. This is one of my favorite shows ever. I love this show so damn much. What were your guys' thoughts on the finale?
I thought it was, it was a culmination of a lot of things I think that were going to happen or had to happen in order for the characters to kind of continue to progress on the way that they were progressing. So everything made sense in my opinion on what I saw. And then how it got there, very interesting. A lot of the things that I was seeing and a lot of the actions that were taking place, I was like, oh wow, interesting choices. Even though you kind of know that they kind of have to be made, or that it was kind of going along that way, or it was going to crest to that, and then
Like what specifically? Can you? Can you
like so for
compare
example,
for-
what's his face's son's name?
Ryan, Homelander's son.
Ryan.
Yeah.
When Ryan kind of gives that push and creates that situation, it's just like, oh, interesting. Are you going to be able to come back from this? Was that worth it in his mind?
Oh, on his Sesame Street thing.
Yeah.
Or you're talking
And,
about when he pushes Grace Mather and
Oh
kills
yeah,
her,
when
right?
yeah. That's what
Oh
I'm thinking
yeah,
of,
like literally. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of the even in the beginning situation where you have what's his face who's pretending to be Starlight, and kind
Who
of like
knows?
who knows, like all that stuff.
That
like,
was
okay.
crazy.
Dude,
Yeah.
that made me think. I was like, dude, that was for sure Huey's mom, right? Like
What? Dude, that is a wild
there
theory.
was.
Alright,
Okay,
take it
wait,
to the left.
just real quick. It's
Why
all
do you say
connected,
that?
Okay,
It's all
take a look at my chart.
All right,
I'm sure-
bingo.
It's like a big ass chart.
You got like a
Fuck,
murder
that'd be
board over
hilarious.
there, but for Huey
It's just
Yeah.
one red streak.
Yeah.
She's her. That's all I got so far, guys.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, okay.
There's, I don't know. It's probably not, but there's just certain things in that where Huey's mom shows up out of nowhere, and like her facial expressions, the way they chose to like linger on her, like reacting to things, I was like, she doesn't seem like that person. Like she doesn't. I don't know. Like she just knew Huey had the V in his pocket, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you wanted to give it to him." Like what? What are you talking about? Like he didn't tell her about the VE. There was things like, if you watch back, I can't remember exactly, but she just like showed like a lingering look, like this, like just kind of deceiving. And I'm like, who the fuck? I don't think you are. That's why I started in the beginning. I thought she was maybe like a shapeshifter or something. And then we see someone that does it, and I was like, I don't know where the connection would have been or whatnot. Scrolls, yeah, but
dude, why did you say this like 3 weeks ago? We would have been freaking trending everywhere. Like,
I thought I mentioned that. No,
not that I'm aware of.
You didn't show us the string. You didn't show us the string.
Back to the tape.
I needed to see the road red. Yeah, dang it. That's quite the theory, man, and I dig it. I think that's really an interesting idea that would cause a lot of crazy shit for the final season.
Right. But yeah, I mean, going back to just like the shapeshifter changer person, I thought that was a really cool idea. Very boys-like the way to do it. You got to rip the skin off. Like, it's got to be painful.
Tough. That was probably one of the more rougher scenes for me to watch. Just like her ripping it off, and in the same episode, Kimiko gets her leg sawed off. I was like, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, there's another. I said this before. We don't eat when we watch the show, just because you never know what you're gonna. You see, what's his name, the Spider-Man variant.
Oh my God, Web Weaver.
Just like,
yeah.
like
that scene was crazy. Yeah, it was kind of hilarious, but also like, made me gag a little bit watching it. So
exactly, because it's like watery. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
I know. Yeah, it was disgusting, dude.
It's hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Just like, just stop it.
Stop, and then just rips him in half.
That was it's crazy.
Oh man.
But yeah, and then there was again with the changing person, like Starlight. I thought it was when Starlight's like got angry, like, oh, I guess you're engaged now, and I'm like, dude, she has your memories, like
has your memory, looks completely like you. First of all, that is not a common thing. Second, it has all your memories, talks like you, sounds like you, but maybe just does a few weird things. Like
maybe feel bad for him, like he got taken advantage of. He got the R word, by this person. And it's his fault. Like, I mean, like, he thought it was her, and he was like, dude, you want to marry me? Like, there was a lot of things like that were not good on his end. And I was like, come on, Starlight.
I know that. I think, and
but I get it too.
Yeah, I do get it, but I think it was weird. It was a weird reaction, like without being like, even if she said like, I get that she looked like me and sounded like me and everything, but how could you not know it's me? And that's why I'm mad. I would have been like, all right, cool. Like she gets it, but just seemed so mad for, I don't know. Yeah, no reason. That's not a common situation that anybody could be in,
Yeah, it's a very maybe she should have just used her words a little better, like
maybe
versus just
maybe
like you cheated on me. It's like, whoa, it's not like I just found some person that kind of looked like had blonde hair like you. Like,
right.
What are we doing here? Like, still a really cool concept. Oh, and then another small thing before we get to the meaty stuff, the Deep, and his octopus lover.
Yeah.
And that whole
Ambrosia. That was.
It was like sad and comedic because she kept going, oh, and he's like, oh.
Yeah. It reminded me of like a Family Guy sketch when they were like, oh, and you think it's done, and then it just keeps going. I was like, you're right. I was like, this is funny and heartbreaking at the same time.
It's very The Deep. Like,
dude, Chase Crawford like kills it in that scene too because he looks so tore up about it. Dude, he's so good. He has one of the best lines ever in this episode. Again, we've talked about it so much on this show, but the Actors and Writers Strikes last year, there's that line. The guy's like, they're hunting people down at Vought Tower. And the guy's like, I'll pay you whatever you want. And he's like, bro, you and me both know writers don't get paid shit. Yeah. And I literally LOL. Like, I laughed out loud so hard at that. Yeah. I was like, fuck, that's a good meta joke. They nailed it with that one. And the way he delivered it was amazing. So, God, I love and hate the Deep. He's like Sir Kristen Cole if he was just like really funny.
Yeah, and I mean, we get extra stuff outside of the show, right? Like, real quick, we get like his insight with the Deep or whatever it's called, Deep Thoughts with the Deep, and it's just like really simple things. So I love it. It's such
he's
a
like
character.
Liquid Death commercial as the Deep. I mean, dude, he's a very underrated character, and I think there were so many characters this season that really shine, and they're part of the main cast, but it's like it's such a big cast. You're like, how can you develop so many of these different characters? Much like again. Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. Like everybody's done so well. Yeah, we see a special part with Huey in this episode, and he gets to have that conversation with the boys where it's like, listen, we're not gonna beat these soups by being a soup and just murdering. The answer can't be murder. We have to be human. We have to show mercy. And that's the way we're gonna do it. And you're like, all right, like I'm on board. I mean, it was gonna work. It was gonna work. Drake's shaking his head, but like it was actually gonna work before Butcher showed up. He was gonna get Newman on there, and sorry, I think Drake has to mute for something going on in the background. But like, if Butcher doesn't show up and the Venom symbiote tumor inside of him doesn't take over, it's gonna work. But I think this is that turn, after Ryan pushes Grace Mallory into that wall, Butcher's like, this is my last chance to reach him at an emotional level, to tell him, hey, your dad's not the person you think he is. You have to come with us. He's like, if that doesn't work, I have to give in to Joe Kessler. I have to give in to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the tumor, basically. And we have to let him do his thing. And Newman, who was bulletproof at the beginning of the season, gets ripped in half. I was like, oh my God. We put out like a little funny kind of meme of like Kevin Hart, basically being the interpretation of what the boys are feeling. And
yeah.
I thought that was pretty
That's
on
funny.
point.
He didn't kill
what
her
are you
daughter
thinking?
though.
But he didn't kill her daughter. No.
Oh, that's a good guy.
Yeah, good guy deep down,
Always got to double tap. Always got to double tap.
Yeah, but it's interesting that she's going to Red River. We see that Stan Edgar is, like, why didn't she go to him? I thought about that, but let's just try to hit all some of the main characters, because I love how this episode starts. We get VNN, kind of a rip on CNN. It starts on January 6th. If you can't see the real life comparisons, that you weren't watching this whole season.
Exactly.
We've already talked a lot about the shapeshifter. She has to go in and recharge, and he has to do some gruesome things. But Butcher has this really sweet conversation with Huey, and Huey is talking to him like, hey, remember? No. Butcher's telling Huey about Lenny in the steakhouse. Like, tell the boys, you promised me you're gonna go to this steakhouse and see the bits with the ladies and the steaks and all that stuff, and tell the boys I'm sorry. And I just think like Carl Urban puts on an insane performance in this episode. Yeah. What do you guys think about kind of Carl Urban and Butcher, I guess, in this episode?
Yeah, Carl Urban's great. I love these little moments we get to see when him not being typical Butcher. Like, of course he plays that great, like, let's get in there, break some heads or whatever, and he does that so well. Diabolical. But then like seeing him like, it's I love those scenes where he's like kind of funny. He's like, I want to go to this pub and he's like, with the boobs, and he's like, yeah, like, promise me you'll go. Like, it's kind of a silly bar to go to or whatnot. But you feel for him. The tears, like, he's such a good actor. Like,
He is.
oh my gosh. And I'm always grateful, like, for a show like this that's about superheroes. Like, we still got some like freaking powerhouse actors in it that are like, really just like moving it forward. So he's awesome. Always awesome.
Yeah.
How you feel about Drake?
Oh, I mean, Carl Urban's just kind of putting him in a place where his acting is undeniable. This character has really kind of showed not only his range, but his skill and his talent. I think, to Thomas's point earlier about that emotional range that we've seen him go through, of someone who's being cutthroat, someone who's being empathetic, someone who's trying to kind of figure out where can he land, where he's still a human being and all of it, but yet he still needs to muster up the strength to be able to essentially eliminate a style of being, right, in order to kind of bring peace to the world, bring peace to himself. By doing everything that he's done, you can kind of tell that the arc, especially in the ending portion where kind of everything's taking place simultaneously, where it has to go, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it makes sense in the situation where Carl Urban has to kind of get to this place where we can see vengeance. And now we have all of these other ancillary situations in the background where everybody gets taken. And now we're kind of able to see that unfold in the upcoming season. So really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the virus. He's got the tumors fully in control. And yeah, Carl Urban did put on an insane performance as Butcher all season. I thought it was great. Even with his scenes with Ryan and everything, it's like very much how Butcher would be trying to be a dad, and I thought that
Right.
was so damn good. We get finally Kimiko and Frenchie kiss. It's confirmed they're in a relationship. I dug that scene. I know some people online were like, I don't know if it's earned or whatever. I thought it was very
I thought
much
so.
earned. I
But you
loved
couldn't
it.
pick up on the cues this whole time.
Right. There's sexual tension the whole time.
Sexual
Come on.
tension the whole time.
Yeah, he must be blind. But seriously, like I thought that was really really well done, and yeah, like it was fine. Like these crazy kids, like they finally did it. They finally got together. Like come on
You're
now.
right.
She's pushing him away, and like you should be with Colin. Like I'm banging so many people, and he's like, okay, fine, I will go with Colin. That never felt right, and it was bound to fall apart. So
Right.
Kimiko and Frenchie being together, I was like, hell yeah! Like I'm glad we got here. Yeah, Drake, any thoughts?
No, I'm. It kind of just makes sense, right? Like we kind of needed that. That was one of the few things that we can really hang our hat on and say, oh, well, at least we got this, right?
Yeah.
To see that romance finally flourish in the way that we expected it to, the way that they deserve, the way the characters kind of helped push in that direction, given all the tribulation, giving all the strife, and then at the end, obviously, to have it all kind of go awry again, par for the course for the boys.
Yeah. So let's jump to Homelander because, I think Anthony Starr has been by far a standout. This show wouldn't be wouldn't be half as good without him. It wouldn't even be three-fourths as good without him. Like he is one of the best character villains that ever graced the screen, as far as I'm concerned. Up there with like, why am I blanking on his name? The guy from Breaking Bad, Why
Heisenberg.
can't Heisenberg,
Cranston?
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bryan,
Bryan
right.
Cranston. Like he's just up there as one of the best villains, and he just crushes it. In this episode, we see that he outs Newman, and also like his plan seems to be falling to shit. Like Newman's dead. He doesn't have his like way in the White House anymore. And as he's sitting in the room because it's destroyed because Ryan left him, he is just heartbroken, just disheveled. And Sage comes in, and you're like, what the hell? Like, she tells him this was all part of the plan. I knew
Yeah.
you were gonna mess something up. I knew the boys were gonna like do this. I was feeding them information. And he's like, what? And she's like, oh, this is all great. Trust me, you're gonna be fine. This is the president's on the phone. Your Department of Justice or Defense or whatever he's in charge of now.
He's
Man,
like, but I
this,
fired you. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, I know. And it's like, yeah, it felt like, at least in that moment, it felt like he finally was like, oh, you're like a real friend. Like, this is what being
Yeah.
friends is like.
Right.
But, he's also a sociopath, so it could have been in the moment. Yeah.
But it was great. I know,
was
but I
great.
just
Yeah.
love that scene. The surprise. You're right though. The surprise of like, oh wait, you actually do care about me. And she's like, yeah. Like I said, I wanted to do it. God, was she was an amazing addition to this season.
agree.
Like even Firecracker played her part. Just
She
showing
was great
like,
too, yeah.
yeah, she was super good. Even though she gave Homelander exactly what he wanted, he still treated her like trash. I thought that was just the way, obviously it was messed up, but it was just perfect the way he treated her this season. I thought it was so good.
I know. She's like on those medications that were like killing her.
Pretty much,
Just so
yeah.
she could produce milk. Like, it's like, the whole thing is so sad.
Milk.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Sage walks out and says phase 2. So that really will lead into what's gonna happen, next season. But yeah, any thoughts on Homelander in this episode and then the season as a whole?
I mean, Homelander in general, just mentioned one of the best villains, one of the best portrayals of any type of like, not even necessarily evil, but just like what happens when you have certain circumstances and you just don't really know and aren't equipped to handle it based off of your own personal circumstances. And I think one of the reasons why Homelander is so controversial is because he's super relatable. He's relatable even though he's doing some things that you personally wouldn't do, but you can see him as a character doing them based off of some of the situations he's gotten himself into and or have been thrusted upon him from season 1. So great portrayal, great character. I think like you said, I don't know that the impact would be as like explosive if Anthony Starr wasn't portraying the character well. Like I really don't believe that anybody else could be the character because Anthony has kind of solidified himself as someone who's doing it real good.
Yeah, that is facts. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's times where he's charming and you're like, oh, maybe he's not such a bad guy. And then there's times where he's like King Joffrey with superpowers. You're just like, oh my god, this is gonna go real bad. And we gotta watch it. You know, they make us watch it. So he does an awesome job.
They do make us watch it. Amazon Prime has got guns to our heads every week on Fridays. Incredible. Like, God, I can't believe I purposely didn't read the comics because I want to be surprised, and the show continues to do it. And I don't know. I mean, he's pretty much in charge of the whole country now, deputizing all of these soups around the country, and the boys are going to have a lot of enemies to kill, so this is going to be pretty wild. But speaking of that, the boys, they go off in 3 separate directions. We got Frenchie Kimiko, we got Huey and Starlight, we have Mother's Milk, and then Butcher's kind of going off on his own. They all have new passports, they're all going in different directions, and we see that they get captured. Starlight and
Huey
get captured by that girl that escapes the facility in season 2. Frenchie and Kimiko gets captured by the Gen V kids, which I love the tie into Gen V. Thought that was really well done.
A couple things there. Kimiko speaks for the first time.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome. And then the other thing too, I was like, maybe because Kimiko is like really violent and scary, and I wouldn't want to get near her either. But I was wondering why what's her name didn't just touch her and be like, hey, calm the fuck down, and then she'd be like, oh yeah, and then
they could have done the opposite. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're
Frenchie was just like, I don't know. Maybe he just has bombs in his butt or something. They didn't know what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
Just blow up.
Right. But if she controls him, and I can't come with this, Frank said it. He's like, well, then she can control him into making another virus. Yeah. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, but
That
for
makes
sure.
sense.
But
She can control both. Oh, but then there was another thing. Christine's like, oh, because she didn't watch Gen V. She's like, maybe she's got a lot going on, and she's, as we knew, like when she stretched herself too thin, she's like started nosebleeding and all that stuff.
True.
So
Yeah.
maybe she's got a lot of stuff, and she's like, well, I need this guy
Right.
because the virus thing, like Frank was saying. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and like Kimiko's apparently not going to be able to kill Sam. Like, how strong is Sam? He's like Homelander strong. It's
Yeah, I was
crazy.
just like from Gen V. I was like, is he just like a little Hulk? That's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah, it seems like
because
it.
he just leaps everywhere. There's a lot of like similarities there.
Huh. Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't even think about that. He does seem like he's a little Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I dig it. Well, that was cool. And then Mother's Milk's favorite guy, Love Sausage, comes in and captures him. So
I was like, poor guy, dude.
dude, he keeps
Why'd they
getting
send him?
he keeps getting tapped by Love Sausage. It's just like, God, Mother's
That
Milk.
guy loves Mother's Milk, I think.
He does.
Shitty.
Yeah, I think he really likes him. So, got another fantastic season. Did it break into the top 3 for me? I have to review what's in the top 3, but it's pretty damn close if it's not there. It's going to make the bonus category because I freaking love this season. I love the way it kind of paints the comparison to our real world and does it in this really funny way. Man, the boys, another solid one.
Yeah, real quick.
The boys.
How come they didn't know where Butcher was?
I don't think they even decided to go after him because it's like, what could they do? You know, it was like, okay, Butcher took the virus, he's gonna leave. Like, well, how are they gonna stop him? You know, they don't have anything at that point, and also they can't give him a virus to like, kill him or anything. So, you know, what could they do?
Like bring him in wise. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
like some of like Vought or something.
yeah, like they took all the other team, but how did Butcher get away? What route did he take where they weren't ahead of the game and they knew what he was gonna do?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
great
I don't know.
question, maybe.
Part of me, conspiracy, I was like, what if he was like, I have to do this myself, so I'm gonna tip them off. They'll get put into cells or whatever for a bit, but I'm gonna get this shit done before it gets too crazy.
Oh shit, maybe.
That's just smart. That's not a conspiracy theory.
I mean, if it is a theory though,
a-
because if that happens, that would be great. But yeah, I didn't think about that. That's actually really smart. Dang, you got some theories tonight that I wish you, someone wish you dropped sooner. But that one, that one
I'd say
is
it
gonna
now. I
make a
was like-
solid clip. Yeah. So yeah, any other final thoughts on anything we talked about, the boys included, and yeah, we'll close out this episode. Okay, no final thoughts. All right.
No,
All right,
yeah,
bye.
it's- good things. Enjoy Comic-Con, Tom.
Oh yeah.
Expect to see a lot of cool shit from Tom.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Follow us on social media at Joystick Show. Much love, aloha, and as always, mahalo for sticking with us.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.